Tonight on To the Point.
EV and hybrid drivers may soon have to pay more in registration fees. How much will it cost and how lawmakers are responding?
Plus, California's lawmakers sounding the alarm over potential cuts to Head Start.
Damage is already being done.
What's at stake for thousands of children and workers across the state? New details emerged during day 2 of the Davis stabbings trial. The evidence and testimony just presented. And President Trump meets Canada's new prime minister. The debate over making Canada the 51st state.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. Driving an electric vehicle or a hybrid one can potentially cost drivers a little bit more. It comes as some members of Congress say federal funds within the Highway Trust Fund are dwindling and electric and hybrid drivers need to pay their share. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us with the details about this potential change.
Alex, if Congress passes this new fee, it could add a couple $100s more onto registration fees for drivers. Drivers here in California tell me it's just going to add on to the growing cost of living.
In the long run, we saw it as something that made a lot of sense.
For the sake of the environment and cost, Bob Martinez says going electric was an obvious choice.
In terms of fuel consumption, it's fantastic.
But cost efficiency may change after Republican Congress members of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee recently approved a proposal that would increase registration fees for EV and hybrid drivers.
Implements a $200 annual fee on electric vehicles and a $100 annual fee on hybrid vehicles and deposits all collections into the Highway Trust Fund.
Republicans claim because EVs do not pay a tax, it's contributed to the decline of the Highway Trust Fund, a federal program that provides maintenance to roads and bridges nationwide. Congressman Kevin Kiley is a part of the committee and an EV driver himself.
This is just a way to provide some parity so that everyone is funding the Highway Trust Fund in equal measure.
In response, Democrats in Congress say this fee will end up costing EV and hybrid drivers more than those who drive gas-powered vehicles.
The average combustion engine vehicle pays $90 annually into the Highway Trust Fund in gas taxes.
Democrats adding that the Highway Trust Fund has been unsustainable since before electric vehicles and encourages Congress to find a better solution.
To reach sustainability, Congress should examine how all drivers, including EV drivers, contribute to it.
Making drivers like Martinez believe the initiative in Congress is counterintuitive.
It's very short-sighted. The whole idea is to incentivize people to do things that hopefully save the environment and are cost-effective from a planetary perspective in the long run.
With the rising cost of living, Congressman Kiley acknowledged this additional fee will be unfortunate for drivers. He tells me the solution to this is to lower the cost of energy, housing, and everything else. Alex?
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. And this conversation comes as California's gas car drivers could see even higher gas prices. State Senator Brian Jones sent this letter to Governor Gavin Newsom today, warning him of rising prices as refineries continue to announce their closure in the state. Phillips 66 refinery in Los Angeles say they plan to close by the end of 2025. And the Valero refinery in Benicia announced they will be closing by April of 2026. The announcements first started after the state began requiring refiners to store more gas to try to prevent price spikes. As for what the closures could mean for gas prices, here's what Senator Jones told ABC 10 today.
By the end of 2026, gas prices in California could be up to $8.43 a gallon. And by this time next year, it could be $6.50 per gallon.
Senator Jones's letter also addressed job losses and is calling on the governor to find meaningful solutions. ABC 10 reached out to the governor's office, who said Governor Newsom last month directed the state to redouble efforts to work with refiners to ensure a safe, affordable, and reliable supply of gasoline. New tonight, Assembly Democrats are backing a new agreement to strengthen California's laws against the solicitation of minors. The amended bill, AB 379, would now impose felony penalties on adults who solicit sex from 16 and 17-year-olds. This comes after prior amendments had removed those protections. The bill also expands support for trafficking victims, including new prosecution tools and survivor support fund. The Assembly Appropriations Committee is set to hear the bill tomorrow. Tonight, a bipartisan group of California lawmakers is urging Congress to protect funding for Head Start, which is a program that provides early education, meals, and also family support to low-income children. More than 3/4 of the state legislature signed a letter warning Congress that proposed federal cuts could lead to layoffs and service reductions for thousands of children. Several regional Head Start offices were closed as part of the broader cuts at the Department of Health and Human Services, which operates the program. Advocates warn that nearly 1,000 Head Start workers in California have already received pink slips, with more jobs and services on the line.
Me and my coworkers and Head Start workers who serve 50,000 Head Start and 25,000 early Head Start children and families around the state make a living by making a difference. But now, because of programs that are now facing devastating layoffs, because of cuts to the federal workforce, our jobs, our livelihood, and the livelihoods of the family we serve are in jeopardy.
In 2024, Head Start served more than 80,000 families in California. A federal order at the Department of Health and Human Services to terminate grants could cost Sacramento County $26 million. The grants have already been allocated for infrastructure projects to track infectious diseases and potential outbreaks. I sat down with former Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra today for a wide-ranging interview that will be coming soon. But here's what he really had to say about the impacts the department's new restructuring could have on communities.
You lose the resources, you lose the personnel, you will eventually lose a life. And Sacramento, California, the nation, we're all going to see the consequences of these cuts. No one has explained where the excess was in those programs that are being terminated. No one is explaining where the fraud was in any of those programs. They're just being cut.
The restructuring of HHS has sparked national backlash, prompting California Attorney General Rob Bonta and 19 others to sue the Trump administration over the mass firing of 10,000 employees, calling the move unconstitutional. The lawsuit is asking a district court to block its implementation so the mass firings can be reversed. In Washington today, President Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney met in the Oval Office. The two talked trade and Trump's desire to make Canada the 51st state. Perry Wesson has the details for us tonight.
A high-stakes meeting in the Oval Office today. President Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney sitting side by side for the first time. The neighboring countries and longtime allies now trade war foes, as Trump still pushes for Canada to become the 51st state.
It would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
Trump later saying never say never.
But never say never.
The U.S. and Canada putting 25% tariffs on each other's goods, not covered by the USMCA. It's a trade agreement with the U.S., Canada, and Mexico negotiated by Trump during his first term.
I'll say a word on USMCA, if I may, Mr. President. It is a basis for a broader negotiation. Some things about it are going to have to change. And part of the way you've conducted these tariffs has taken advantage of existing aspects of USMCA. So it's going to have to change. There's other elements that have come, and that's part of what we're going to discuss.
Right.
Trump asked if Carney could say anything during their meeting that would get Trump to lift tariffs on Canada.
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
Overall, a friendly interaction between the leaders today in the Oval Office, with Trump saying, "We are going to be friends with Canada, regardless of anything." Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
President Trump recently marked 100 days of his second term in office. The To The Point team spent an hour breaking down the president's actions and their impact on California. You can watch our special California and Trump's first 100 days right now on the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Still ahead on To The Point, new details in the Davis stabbings trial, the evidence that was presented in court today. Plus, all eyes are on the Vatican as cardinals prepare to pick the next pope. The final preparations underway tonight.
And the winds have died down from where they were yesterday, but now we're trading the wind for heat. Hottest days of the year so far on the way for the start of the weekend. We'll talk about that coming up.
Welcome back. Another beautiful and warm day as we take a live look over Lake Tahoe tonight. Let's get things over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, it was a very warm day. In fact, for some areas of the valley, the warmest day that we've had so far this year. Tied the warmest day in Sacramento at 87, 90 in Stockton today, 87 in Modesto, 75 Placerville, 81 in Auburn, 61 Truckee, 57 in South Lake Tahoe, and these temperatures are much above normal for the time of year. +9 in Sacramento, +10 Stockton, +7 above normal in Modesto. Temperatures right now still in the 80s across much of the valley. 85 in Sacramento, 82 Stockton, 85 Manteca, 85 in Modesto, 86 Marysville, 85 Colusa, 86 up in Orville, 70s in the foothills right now, 61 Truckee, 55 in South Lake Tahoe. We do have that Delta breeze. It's not particularly strong tonight, but sustained winds anywhere between about 10 and 20 miles per hour across the valley. And again, not much in the way of gusts, although it is a little gusty down in Modesto, about 25 miles per hour. So we go through the rest of this evening. We'll be in those low 80s towards the top of the hour, upper 60s by 9 o'clock and low 60s by 11. Clear skies overnight, and that onshore breeze will kind of facilitate that quicker cool down than what we saw yesterday. And it'll remain somewhat breezy as we start off. Wednesday will be in those low 50s across much of the valley, some areas dropping into the upper 40s. Wednesday afternoon, halfway through the work week, milder temperatures in Sacramento, likely some low 80s, about 81 in Sacramento, 79 in Oak Grove, 75 Vacaville, 73 in Fairfield. As you kind of work away from the Delta, though, it is going to be a bit warmer. Still in those 80s down in the San Joaquin Valley, and those mid 80s in the upper Sacramento Valley as well. 70s in the foothills and 60s up in the high country. But again, generally somewhat milder compared to what we saw today. But that low pressure system to our east is moving out. And by the time we get towards Friday and Saturday, we are looking at the hottest days of the year so far, with temperatures in the low 90s, 14 degrees warmer than normal. So we've got a weather impact alert for Friday and Saturday due to this early season heat. It's a good reminder that the hotter days are on the way. So practice good heat and water safety, sunscreen, shade, and hydration. And remember, rivers are cold, fast, and high. So practice good water safety there as well. As we look at the heat risk, once we get to Friday and Saturday, we're going to be looking at that moderate heat risk, which will affect most people who are sensitive to heat. So again, the first 90-degree days are just around the corner, and Friday we're going to be very close to that record high temperature as well. The record's 94 in Sacramento. I've got a forecast of 93, Alex.
Next, on To the Point, chilling evidence revealed today in the trial of Carlos Dominguez, accused of the Davis stabbings, what jurors saw and heard in court today. Plus, if you're heading to the airport starting tomorrow, you will need a real ID, how the new rules will be enforced. Today marked day 2 in the trial of Carlos Dominguez, who is accused of stabbing 3 people in Davis in 2023, killing 2 of them. The former UC Davis student was arrested in May that same year and faces 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Detectives described details of the fatal stabbing of David Breaux, found dead in Central Park in April 2023. Witnesses also testified, including a man who saw yellow tape near the location where the 3rd victim, Kimberly Guillory, was attacked. Jurors also viewed body camera footage from police response to another stabbing, this time of UC Davis student Kareem Abu Najim, who later died from his injuries.
It was a report of a man down with blood all over him.
The trial is expected to continue tomorrow with more witnesses and evidence. Starting tomorrow, the federal government will begin enforcing the Real ID requirement for domestic air travel. Real ID is a federally compliant state-issued license or identification card that Homeland Security says is a more secure form of identification. You can tell that it's a Real ID if it has a symbol like a star in the top corner of the card. Secretary Kristi Noem today addressed how the IDs will be enforced.
We will be honoring passports, other federally recognized IDs, tribal IDs will be recognized. And what will happen tomorrow is folks will come through the line and will be issued their ID and show it. If it's not compliant, they may be diverted to a different line, have an extra step, but people will be allowed to fly.
In California, about 58% of all driver's license and ID card holders have a real ID, but if you still need to get yours, the Folsom and Carmichael DMV locations open at 7 a.m. on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for real ID appointments only. The conclave to elect the next pope begins in less than 48 hours. And final preparations are underway at the Vatican, where the conclave will begin tomorrow. 133 cardinals will be voting to elect the 267th pope to represent the Catholic Church. Tens of thousands of cardinals are from the, not tens of thousands, 10 cardinals are from the United States. Patrick Reevell is in Rome with more.
Silent and still. The Sistine Chapel now ready for the papal conclave. On Wednesday, cardinals will gather here under Michelangelo's famous ceiling to elect the successor to Pope Francis. Long tables laid out with place cards for each cardinal. On the side, voting rolls. In the room of tears, sets of papal robes. In 3 different sizes, ready to fit whoever's chosen. Cardinals today leaving their final general meeting, crossing through St. Peter's Square. The Cardinal of Algiers, one of the 133 who will be voting to choose Pope Francis's successor.
I heard many, all the cardinals, and I'm ready. I think I'm ready for the first vote.
Tonight, seals placed on the doors of the Apostolic Palace to close it off, reading Conclave. After a mass tomorrow, the cardinals will be cut off from the world. Once inside, a key question: will the conclave choose a pope who will continue Francis's more liberal legacy? A top frontrunner, Italian Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State, was a close lieutenant to Francis. Another cardinal, Luis Tagle of the Philippines, often called the Asian Francis.
Francis is Francis, and we won't have a new Francis. But he opened doors, and I hope that, of course, those doors will stay open.
New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan today spoke with our New York station, WABC, hinting at the differences there still are among cardinals.
They're talking about the church. They're talking about the positive sides. They're talking about the worrisome sides.
Pope Francis was elected in 2 days, and many cardinals here are saying they will be surprised if this conclave goes much longer than that. But of course, anything's possible. Patrick Reevell, ABC News, Rome.
To learn more about the conclave process, head over to the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. You can watch in the news now, where we explain the traditions and procedures, including the oath of secrecy taken by the cardinals. The app is free to download with San Joaquin County is known for its rich agricultural roots. And tomorrow on To The Point, as part of our AANHPI Heritage Month, we are covering and sharing stories of 2 Punjabi farmers who say that they owe their success as Indian American farmers to the hard work and the legacy of their family. For nearly 40 years, the family of Jagmohan Singh and Joga Mahil have worked the land in Lodi and Acampo, growing a variety of fruits and nuts. Today, Singh turns his grapes into wine, while Mahil grows oranges that are sold across the country. The cousins say it's the hard work and sacrifice of earlier generations that paved the way for their success as Punjabi farmers.
My grandfather, he started from his house in his village in 1906. He ended up in San Francisco in 1910. And then he settled, close to Stockton and then Yuba City.
Coming up tomorrow at 6:30 on To The Point, how these cousins plan to carry on the legacy of Punjabi farmers here in Northern California and throughout the Central Valley. As always, thank you so much for watching and for inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, please email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And remember, strangers are just people we haven't gotten the chance to meet yet, so take the time to get to know someone. And To The Point does not end here. If you want to watch any of our stories that we have featured on our show, just download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app straight to your TV. Have a great night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.